Welcome back, fellow modelers, to my latest video. I know it's been a while. I haven't done a modeling video in probably a year or more. But today I'm going to pick one off the stash, and it's a recent addition. And no, it's not the Porsche 911. That's the latest edition. It's this Corvette Roadster right here. It's an 87 Corvette, and it's a Monogram model. And it's part of their Metal Flake series. And I'll get it over here to the workbench and we'll take a look. Oh, here we are over at the workbench. Take a look at what we have in the box. Now this kit was already started. I knew that. By the way, it's a recent eBay purchase. I knew that it had been started, and my intent with this is I've got two other of the Metal Flake series kits, and I was wondering if it would give a decent finish, or how to get a decent finish out of this thing with just the plastic without painting it. And so I was going to give it a try with this model. Because I'm not really a Corvette fan, it didn't really faze me if it didn't come out very well. However, let's take a look in the box here, and we find that the body was intact, and I've already done a parts inventory and found out that it's partially assembled. There's the interior tub is all assembled, and there's our chassis, and I bagged up the wheels and tires, and I bagged up some of the engine and drivetrain parts. And the engine was assembled, and here's all the other small pieces. And unfortunately the previous owner had taken everything off the sprues except for the chrome. Don't ask me why the chrome wasn't. But that's not really the issue. I did find that there's one missing piece. It's some kind of a cross piece somewhere in the chassis. The issue is, for what I wanted to do with this model, the previous owner had painted it. And so I'm kind of lost the ability to check on the Metal Flake system and see if that would work for me. So what I have to do, not only did he paint it, he or she, I shouldn't assume anything, but I don't know if you can see, we've got some crazing going on. I've sanded a little bit on this panel right here. I sanded a little bit right there. We have a nice big drop of blue paint here, and we have some crazing going on along the upper edge of the door, and there was some crazing elsewhere. Is it right there? I don't know. There was some pretty hefty crazing going on. Pretty crazy crazing. So what I need to do to start with, before I go any further with this, is to sand and figure out what I'm going to do for paint on this. Again, my plan was to go with the stock blue Metal Flake finish and see what I could do with it. I found online that there were blue Corvettes, 87 Corvettes. I don't know what's that, a C5? I don't know which version this one is. That they did have a blue interior, and it was slightly lighter color. It's more of a turquoise color. So this might not be too bad. Or maybe I'll paint it turquoise. But the interiors, now if I think about it, I'll look up that image that I found. The interiors were blue, and then, oh, what was it? Like the top right there, the armrest was black, and I think the top edge of the center console was black, and I think the dash was black. I don't know, I don't remember which part. But yeah, the instructions call for painting the interior gray. So am I going to paint a gray or a blue turquoise color? I don't know yet. So let's get started. I didn't get my sandpaper out, but I'm going to get my sandpaper out, and then I think the next step, or next steps, will be to finish assembly of the motor. Is that a motor or an engine? Engine. You can see that the exhaust manifolds were on there, and I think the valve covers were on there. I'm not sure. Yes, you can see some paint there. So this was assembled. The engine was assembled at one point in time. And yeah, finish assembling that and then move on from there. Once I decide that the color, then I can get the paint ready and figure out where that's going. The other thing I discovered looking online was that the underside of the hood was black on the blue ones. And I think all of this part in here would be black too. So that's going to have to be painted. You can see on the underside, I did scrape a little bit up. And so the blue paint that he used is a darker blue than the metal flake finish. So I would presume that this is the metal flake paint. I don't know. Paint? The metal flake finish. The dash does kind of have a metallic finish to it. So, be right back. Get my sandpaper. So as far as what sandpaper or sanding materials I'm going to be using, this is some pieces from a K&S FlexiGrid set. And God knows how many years that was. That's probably 25, 30 years old. They last a long time. I also have over here some Tamiya sanding sponge sheets. 400, I don't remember all the numbers I have. There's a 400 and a 1000. So I think I have 400, 600, and 1000. And so I have some of those to use. And I'm going to start with one of the K&S. Okay, there's the hood. Pretty well done. I can't get down into that crack very well. Hopefully the paint covers it up. And there's the underside, the ejector pin marks. They're still there. Not invisible, but they're less visible. Now, continuing with the body, what I sanded previously. And there's some crazing down in here. Get my thumb out of the way, but down in here there's some crazing. And it looks like just in front, just behind the wheel. Got some crazing going on there. Alright, there's the right side of the car. You can see I got that blob of paint taken care of right in here. There's still a little tiny bit of crazing right in there. I don't know. This might have to be good enough is good enough on this model. There was a little bit more crazing, I think, right up in here, but I think the worst of it's right there. Alright, here we are back again, and I think the sanding is done. There's the nose piece. That wasn't too bad to start with. And I just did a little bit of rough sanding with the 2000 grit. I mean the 1500 grit. The hood you saw before. I found, I think this is 2000 grit here, and I found that with a little bit of sanding with the 2000 grit really makes the crazing pop. So I haven't done the hood yet, and it really brings out a lot more shine to it. So you can see the crazing, and looks pretty good. Okay, I've done a little bit of research, and here's what I'm thinking. This might not be a bad color for the exterior. It's a little bit lighter than, oh, the body panels are down, they're drying elsewhere. Or I could go with, this is Arctic Blue Testers. It's a lot darker. It's more like what's on the box art here. A little closer to the box art color. Still can't see it, can you? So I carved off a little bit of the seam along the motor halves and the top and bottom. And you can see I put the valve covers and the exhaust manifolds on. They're supposed to be aluminum or chrome, but I think what I'll do is I'll paint this all black and then come back and touch those up with a brush afterwards. So that's ready for the paint. Black. The other thing I did was messing around with the tires. I haven't finished with the tires. I sanded the tread a bit. That one's done. But they have some flash down the center line to file off and make the tread look a little bit like it's worn. So I have to do all those. And the other thing I did was look at the pieces and parts that for flash and for what do you call it, sprue nubs, I call them, little nubs left over from cutting off the sprues. There's quite a few of those and a little bit of flash here and there, not a lot. Okay folks, it's going to get loud in here. I will try to tone it down. Try to tone it down when I edit this. Okay, there's the engine compartment. Black. Dashboard. There's the dash. Engine's done. I'm going to spray a little bit on the chassis, underframe. I want to cover up that spot that I sanded. It's a pretty close match. And here we have the underside of the hood. And there's some underhood bracing. So I'm going to paint this all black. Cover your ears. Done. Okay, here's the blue interior tub. To me, a panel line accent color. Add some depth to these wheels. Back again in the paint booth. Time to paint the body blue. And I'm going to go with Tester's Arctic Blue Metallic. It's a Tester's Model Master. It was pretty thick. Hopefully it'll go on okay. We'll see what happens here in a few minutes. Turn the fan on. So that's almost, I'm certain that it's the same color that this was painted before. Still looks a little bit light right on the top of the fender there. And I think right in front of the mirror I need a little bit more. How's the hood look? Dang. There's a dust particle right in the middle. Well, I decided to do the roof while I'm here. So here we go. Cover your ears. Now to prime the convertible roof. We have our interior all nicely painted light blue, and I think I'll put a little flocking in there for the carpet. Let's see how it goes. I have some Mod Podge matte, and I'm going to paint it on the interior here. Okay. Here's our flocking material. And I have a tea strainer here. And what I'm going to do is, I hope, open up the tea strainer, pour the flocking material in there, and tap it. Alright, update time on the Corvette C4. And here we are with the body all painted. And I put the nose piece in. I had to repaint it, respray it, so it's been a while since I've come back to this project. I had to respray it because I noticed as I put the hood on that the color of the hood and the color of the body were not exactly the same. So what I did was I attached the nose piece with some, what do you call it, putty? Adhesive putty, so that I could spray them all together. And I had to mask off the engine compartment so that wouldn't get painted blue. And I gotta take the tape off now. And you can see the windshield down there in the foreground. This is ready to get the pillars painted black. So that's going to be my next step right after I'm done talking. And there's the hood. Come on, here we go. So there's the engine compartment painted black. And I had to glue in the, I don't know what you call that, the liner for the hood. And I ran into some problems. Let me get my pointer here. Don't know if you can see it, but right along in there, I had to carve off some of the plastic there and right in here because it was hitting on the cowl right up in here. So, something to watch out for if you build this model. Now, what's going to be next? Oh, I'm going to put a coat of gloss on this before I do the black. And I will also show you what's up with other things I've done. The interior tub is done. I put another application of what's that stuff called? The flocking, just to make it look a little thicker, more uniform. And I don't know if you can see it, but I put a little bit of silver with a pencil, silver pencil, to make it look like chrome on the interior. And there's the interior. I haven't done anything with firewall yet. I've got to paint the brake master cylinder silver yet. And pardon my reach. The roof has been painted white. I think before you saw I painted the inside of it, and it really didn't cover very well, so I painted the outside of it with primer and then hit it with white paint, testers both, and then I put a coat of testers dull coat on the outside of it to give it a flat finish. So there's that. What else have I got done here? Did some work with the engine. You can see there's some silver on the engine. And I installed the exhaust manifolds and the valve cover, both sides. And let's see. Okay, here we are back again. And I put a coat of gloss coat on it. And I did the black, what is that, edging material on the body stripes. And I did the backup lights, put a little bit of chrome on the hood badge. And I gotta watch my fingers, I just did the trim. And I did a little bit of chrome on the Corvette lettering on the tail. And the Corvette badge on the trunk lid. And the windshield surround is painted. Okay, I've jumped forward a few steps here. We still have our blue pieces, body pieces here, ready to go. But, as you can see, the body has grown some appendages. I have time to remove these, I guess. I added, I went from step 1, which was putting the windshield in place, to about step 9 here, 8 or 9. So here's what happened. The windshield I glued in place with micro crystal clear right there, and that's kind of tricky. You have to put a fair amount of it along the underside of the cowling there, and I also put some on the windshield, on the bottom of the windshield, and then it goes up from the bottom. Actually, no, I went up from the top and down. I also glued this piece here along the top edge with the micro crystal clear, and likewise the mirror, so that they don't etch the clear plastic. Then you put the interior tub in, and let's see, what did I do to keep that in? I think the main thing is there's a tab back here that goes up above the license plate hole in the back, and that holds it in place until you get the frame in place, or the chassis. And the chassis is what I was clamping in up here. The chassis has 2 tabs in the back, one right there and one right there. And those 2 tabs hook into the body, or there's no real hook, but they hold into the body. But then you want to make sure that there's good adhesion up here in the front. So you can see I put some glue there, and same on the other side, and I also glued right in here. And so I had it clamped here and here to hold those in place. Then the next step was to install the engine. Engine's installed. So now we're at step 9, was the engine installation. Step 10 is going to involve putting this piece in here. It's called the Wonder Bar, and it goes the other way. That top thing sticking up, I think it goes right about there. Looks like there's something right there. So that goes in place, and then then the pulleys and belts here go in to the motor, and then the radiator assembly and the bottom hose. So that's where I'm at. Okay, back again the same day. Here we have the V-belts and the pulleys are installed, and I reinstalled that plenum. It's a little bit out of position, but anyways, it's glued back into position. And I have the radiator, and I have that Wonder Bar, it's way down in there. And the radiator and the lower hose is down in there too. So that's where we're at. Let's see if I can lift this up a little closer. Get some light in there. You can see hopefully see all the pieces down in there. One thing I found with the radiator installation was that there was a little nub sticking up on the bottom where the radiator sits, and that had to be cut off because otherwise this side of the radiator was sitting a little bit too high, and it wasn't really down into position all the way. So I think the hood will cover that. This is the body brace here, and there are 2 of them, one on each side, and I glued them up here with the styrene cement, and then I put a dab of super glue down in the base at the frame. Then this is the air conditioning hose right here. That's glued in place. The upper radiator hose is right there, and then this is the air intake. Okay, the front suspension is all complete, and I just want to take you along while I do a little bit of touch-up with the flat aluminum Testors paint. And what I'd like to do is to cover up a little bit of this chrome with the flat aluminum so it's not quite so shiny. kind of hard to work on this with the windshield in place because you don't want to put any weight on it. There's really not a lot of support for it. So you have to, whenever you turn it upside down, you have to be careful. Front suspension. Again, I'll have to do some touch-up. I'll wait till I'm done because I'm sure that the rear suspension is going to have some issues too. Well, the front suspension is done and the rear suspension is done as well. So here we are. I just finished doing some touch-up paint on the chassis. So there's no more blue spots showing. Did I just see another one? Oh well. So here's the rear suspension. I did have some issues with it. These pieces here, what are those called? The rear axle carrier. It's really hard to get that to attach to this cross member, whatever the heck that is called. There's no name for that on the instructions. These things, there's supposed to be a pin that goes in right there and right there. And in order to get that pin to go in, and then this piece to go into a slot in the body, it's really tough. And I don't know if you can tell, but the axle stub is quite a bit longer on this side than on this side. It's probably about twice as long. This carrier should be over about a 16th or a couple of millimeters, something like that. Should be inboard a little bit more. Hopefully it's not going to be that noticeable. Hopefully. So next step is right here. Is going to be the exhaust. And then I think it goes like that. Like that. And then the X-brace. And then after that, the wheels. So bring back when the X-brace is done and ready for the wheels. Okay, the C4 Corvette has got all the suspension and chassis work done. And here we are on the chassis. Front suspension, rear suspension, exhaust, and the X-brace is in. So all that leaves now are about a half a dozen steps, one of which is already done. So I need to add the wheels next, and I have already assembled the inner section and the wheel, the outer section of the wheel, and the pivot piece there, called the wheel retainer. And what's going to happen is I'll put some glue right there on that nub up there. Oops, you can't see it. Right there. Glue on that. Don't get it on this. And it goes into that hole right there. And that piece should pivot. So the wheels should turn. Hey everybody, guess what? The C4 Corvette is complete. Here she is in all her shiny glory. I put the convertible top in place. It's just held with some double-sided tape. And notice that the hood's riding a little bit high. I had some issues. It doesn't like to stay down. I think there's a problem up here on the pivot arm or whatever that's on the hood. I think it needs to be sprung out just a little bit, or sprung down a little bit. But I'll show you under the hood in a minute. And the windshield came out pretty good. I like how that came. The pledge, yeah, I put a coat of pledge on everything, and that really improved the windshield. There was a lot of scratches. You probably see a line or two in there from super glue lines, you know, those little webs that stick off the glue, that come off the glue. All right, I'll move the top. And you can see that there's still a piece of double-sided tape. That wasn't a good idea. Don't try this at home. Note to self, don't do it again either. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of, I don't know what that stuff is called, but tack material underneath the hood to hold it down. And I'll put the camera down and I'll show you that. So there's a view of the engine with the hood up. Underside of the hood, interior shot as well. And there's a shot of the chassis. Well, thank you for checking out my video on this Monogram C4 Corvette. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up down below. If you have any comments or suggestions, constructive, please leave them down below too. And I hope you have a lot of fun with your modeling going forward. Have a great time.